Hi, so I'm going to be showing you how texturing teams workflow works. Uh, so let's begin. Let's start by, for example, you get a texture online like this. You just start by saving it on your system. Just right click and save image as. Choose your desired location and save. Now this is our input. This is our input. The first step would be to take it into Photoshop and choose the part of the texture or the image that you would be using. So I'll be needing about so much. I'll crop up to so much and press enter. And then the next step would be to get rid. Just there's some more here. Yep, so much. The next step would be to get rid of uh, any extra light interactions or shadows, or sometimes you might even have perspective deformations. For example, it might be it might be like this. You'll have to correct all that at this stage. For that, you'll be using only three of these options. I'll show you that. You press Ctrl T to get into a transform option, and then press right click to go to the options under transformation. Uh, the option we will be using will be skew, perspective, and warp. What warp does is it'll, like the name says, you can warp the image like you want, and whatever you do, finish and then press enter. So that's the stage where you correct the uh, physical aberrations or whatever you have. And the next step would be to go under camera raw filter and increase the shadows and get the highlights down so that it neutralizes the light and shadow values. You can do this once, and if you still see shadow and light interactions, you just make a copy of the layer and then go to filter, go to other, and under other you'll see the option called high pass. Keep it to a level where you can say it's flat out, not like this. This is too low and it's turning into grayscale. So choose a value under 80, because after 80 it's almost no change. So choose a value under 80, which you feel neutralizes the overall image, and press OK. And next step is to go to edit and fade high pass. High pass is a step we did previously. So we'll have to fade the high pass, click on it and change the mode to luminosity and press OK. And we have two layers here. Layer 0 copy is the one which is on high pass, and layer 0 is the input we corrected. Go to the layer 0 copy and go to image, adjustments, and click on match color. You'll get this option box. What you have to do is select the source. Our source is the name of your image, that is T647 blah blah blah. Click on that, and then next click on the layer from which you want to sample the color information. So ours will be layer 0. We have to match the uh, this desaturated image to layer 0. Click on layer 0 and you'll get a preview. So this is fine because uh, it doesn't look patchy, number one, and the light and shadow interactions have been taken out. which is a crucial one. So happy with this. In this case, the image is pretty clear, so we don't have to jump to the next step. Next step, in case you have a very small image or an image which is pixelated, at this step you have to save your image. I'll save it on desktop as a JPEG image, and I think you will be provided the username and password for this software. This is Topaz Gigapixel AI. We use this to upscale the image. You just have to, I saved this image on my desktop. I'm just showing you in case your image is too blurry or small, you will have to do this step. You just drag and drop your small image into the window. It'll upscale or rescale it for you. So I have rescaled it 6 times the original. So the image you see on the left is the input image or the original image we drag and dropped, which is blurry, and the one on the right is the corrected and rescaled one, which is to an extent it'll do its best to rescale it clearly. And keep the remove blur option always on 100 and suppress noise to 0. And you click on save and choose your desired location and click save. So right now we won't need that because the image we have is pretty clear. And the step after this would be, so we don't need this, we'll hide this or delete this. So this is our walking texture. So the next step would be to click on Control T to get into transform mode and downscale it and take it to one of the top corners and press enter. Insert a layer under the texture layer and then fill it with black so that you'll be able to distinguish between your texture and the background when you're working. And now click on the layer where you have your texture, go to view, under view, click on new guides from shape. So it'll create guides around your input image, which will help us in snapping the selection. The next step will be selecting some part of it. So it'll help us in snapping to the right spot, in not more, not less, the exact spot, and that really helps. So for the marquee tool, that the shortcut was M, the selection tool. And the next step would be, okay, let's rename this as 1. And the next step would be hold down Alt and then move from left to right holding down Shift. You just made a copy of your layer 1. We'll name this layer 2, or we'll just leave it layer 1 copy. It'll be easy for you to notice it. Now this step is where we'll be making it seamless from left to right. Excuse my voice because I have a nose block. Okay, hold down Shift on the 1 copy layer and move it to left, and beyond this guideline over here, this guideline, just try to get a spot where it matches, or it can be made seamless, or you just try to match it to a spot where you can make it seamless. So I think this spot is better. So I'll hide the layer 1. You can see how much I've moved layer 1 copy to the left side. So I'll switch back on layer 1, and what we have to do now is go to your eraser, bring the size down, and keep the hardness to over 20%, and start erasing where you see a seam. So this is the seam. We don't want that. Taking this out and then making the seamless from left to right is this part's objective. So I'll start erasing over here. You can keep the hardness to, you can keep changing the hardness as per your requirements. The basic thing is that you just have to make it make the transition fade away. See, now I can see the transition clearly. I can tell you, I can say that I've moved so much, or there's a cut right over here. Our objective is to take that out by any means. You can either use eraser to erase the excess off, or you can use the clone stamp tool. That is, the shortcut is S. Decrease the size, and this is the clone stamp tool. It'll look just like a brush. You can sample any part of your texture by pressing alt and then clicking on that spot. So you would have sampled that spot. So what you can do is you can just paint over the spot where you want the transition to go away. You can do this, or you can just simply erase the spot that you don't want. Simple as that. I would recommend doing this first before clone stamping it, because it might get messy sometimes when you're using too much of clone stamp. So a lot of erasing work now. It depends on the type of fabric or wood you're getting. If it's a simple fabric with no such stitches, you won't have to spend a lot of time on making it seamless or erasing or sampling part. So we just keep continuing around until the seam is vanished and the transition doesn't give up. Transition doesn't show up. So yeah. The fabric I've taken is fairly rough, so you don't have to concentrate too much on the stitches. You just have to make it. You just have to fake the eye by erasing some part of it, because as you can see, the stitches the texture is not very uniform. So that would be a handy thing. Just reveal only the spaces that you want. By the way, I'm just erasing right now. I'm not using any sort of clone stamp tool. I have not sampled anything from anywhere. I'm just using the eraser. There. To check it, just zoom out. Click on V for the move tool and zoom out, and you can check it. So, I don't see the transition. The only spot you have to worry about right now is this as one. So I don't see any transition. I mean, I don't see any seam running through from top to bottom. So that's what we're going for. Just make that, and then the next step after doing this would be to hide the layer 1, the one under layer 1 copy. You just have to hide it, and you would see the remaining part of what we erased from layer 1 copy. So this is where the guides help us. I'm clicking on M, which is the shortcut for marquee selection. I'll just click and drag it and snap it. I need it to slice it exactly right from this guide. So I'm just moving closer to the guide and it snaps on itself. So release, and I press Ctrl Shift and J to cut that portion off, and I select that, press V for move tool shortcut, and move that patch holding down Shift to the right side until it snaps to the texture's edge, like this, like so. And click the layer below, holding down Control, and press Control E to merge it. So now we have a texture which is seamless from left to right. The next step would be to be on that layer, and again go to View and click on New Guides from Shape. You'll get another guide on the right. So what we just did was making it seamless from left to right. The next step would be to make it seamless from top to bottom. The same step, hold down Alt. Let's rename this layer as 2 to make it easier for you to understand. And now we'll be holding down Alt with Move tool and holding down Shift, drag down, making a copy of layer 2. Beyond layer 2 copy, the one on top is layer 2, and we just made a copy of layer 2. Click on layer 2 and match it to a spot where you can make it seamless, or match it to a spot where it closely resembles to the area nearby. So we have the edge of this stitch here, so I'll move it enough so that it matches the edge of the stitch on top. Do you see that? And now I'm on layer 2 copy. The same thing. The first thing would be to erase it. It's actually up to you whether you want to sample a spot. You can do that. You can just sample a spot and then paint it over, or you can just erase the part that you don't want. It's actually up to you. It's a personal preference at this time. I would just go for the eraser, because you'll have the control over the space you're erasing and revealing. So I'll be erasing the spot that I don't want. We're making it seamless from top to bottom right now. If the fabric or the texture has any pattern, you would have to follow the pattern as well. But right now, considering fabric, this fabric, there's no fixed pattern. It's just stitches, or it's just a weave pattern you have to follow. Zoom out and see if you can spot the difference from the top layer and the layer below. Right now I don't see anything. Zoom in a bit. It looks natural. What you're doing now is just faking the eye. You're just telling your eye that it's seamless like that. Sorry. And now we hide the layer below layer 2 copy, that is layer 2. We'll hide the layer 2, and whatever you see as X's, click on marquee tool by pressing M, which is a shortcut, and drag the portion until the guideline and snap it. Click Ctrl Shift and J, staying on layer 2 copy. Click on Ctrl Shift J to cut it off completely from this layer, and press V for move tool. Zoom out, and holding down Shift, move it to the bottom of the texture or the image until it snaps, like so. Until it snaps, and click on the layer below. Press Ctrl E to merge it. So this would be our texture. Completed texture. As of now, we have just made it seamless from left to right and from top to bottom. See, it's seamless. I don't see any seam. I can't if I keep those two on top of each other, I can't see where the ending or starting is. That's exactly our goal. Basically, it's what making seamless is right now. So zoom out, hide the black layer, stay on your texture layer, bring it to the center. You don't have to do that, just click Ctrl T to get into transform mode, resize it to the canvas you're in, whatever the size may be. Just resize it back, press enter, and be on move tool by clicking V. Just stops any errors from happening. So next step would be to go into image size, and then our default image size would be 2048 2K, and press enter. You don't have to worry about the stretch and skew. It doesn't matter, because when they apply it on 3D model, they'll arrange it according to the product. Our goal is to make the texture on 1:1 ratio. So we have our texture. To check if it's seamless or not, we follow two steps. The first one being, go to filter, stay on your texture layer, and hide everything else. Go to filter menu and go to other, click on offset. What it does is it moves the mentioned pixels from left to right or top to bottom, and lets you see the seam if it exists. So I don't see any seam. It's been moved from left to right and top to bottom, so I don't see any seam. You can just check for it. You must be looking for a visible line that runs through. If you find a line, then it means the texture has not been seamless. So right here we don't find any line, or you can't make out where it ends or where it starts, because it's been moved. So the next step would be, go to edit and click on define pattern. Pattern name window will pop up, and you just have to click OK, staying on the texture layer, and hide everything else, because defining pattern will sample whatever you see on the window. So whatever is visible on the artboard, defined pattern will sample and save it. So the next step is to go on apply effects, this small black and white icon on the right side bottom, and click on pattern. Decrease the scale to 50%, which styles it by 4 times. So it has styled it like so. It's styled it 4 times. So this is a step where you will find patchy spots if you have not removed the light and shadows properly. You'll see patchy spots over here. If you see some patchy spots with shadows and lights, this is where it lets you know to correct it or not. This is without tiling it, and this is tiling it 4 times. So I don't see any patchy spots right now. You might, being a beginner, or when you try out different textures, you might see patchy spots. This is done only for fabric. For wood, you don't have to do this because wood won't be tiled more than twice. Fabric will be tiled more than 5 times or up to 5 times, so it should not be having any patches. That's something to consider, and if that passes, you just save this with the name. This is where you name your texture. This you can follow this as your default naming convention, the fabric or the texture name, and then underscore 2k, and I'll be saving this on my desktop for now for this video's purpose, and I would be saving it as a JPEG image and save. Make the quality 100 and press OK. And the next step is to make roughness and normal map for your texture. For fabric, you don't have to provide the artist with any normal or roughness map, but in case of wood or metal, you would have to make a normal and a roughness map. So how do we do that? Is for a normal map, you just desaturate it. You can do that by going to image. Okay, I'll have to be on my texture layer. This is my texture layer, and this is the pattern tile layer. I'll have to be on my texture layer. Go to image, adjustments, and you'll have to press on desaturate. So what it does is makes it grayscale or black and white. So this would be your roughness map for the texture. You could do that by pressing or holding down Control Shift U. The same thing, it desaturates the image, and you would save Control Shift S, save this as, go to JPEG, and I save my texture on my desktop. So I go to desktop and click on this, so that it takes the naming convention, and underscore RM for roughness map, and press save. The same thing, quality 10, and OK. And now for the normal map, click Control Alt Z to get back to your texture, and go to filter, press on 3D. You'll see 2 options, generate bump map or generate normal map. We need a normal map, so I'll click on generate normal map. It will open up another window in Photoshop for the normal map. So you can see this is how the normal map would look. You can invert it however you want. I'd like to keep this the way I view it on the artboard. So this would look like this, and press OK. You might have to increase the scale value a bit. Detail scale. So what it does is it makes it normal, coarse, or soft. So any normal, depending on the roughness of the texture, you'll have to change this. For this fabric, I think 34 or even 30% would be 34%. Anything that looks like this would be good enough. Press OK and save this as. I'm pressing Ctrl Shift S, by the way. And JPEG, I saved it on desktop. I click on the 2K for the naming convention. Again, underscore Shift and M. It's a normal map. And press save. And then get back to your texture by pressing down Ctrl Alt and Z. So this is the RGB mode. And you'll have to provide the artist with a 1K map as well. You do that by going into image, staying on your texture layer, go to image, press on image size and change it to 1024, which is 1K. It'll decrease the size, save it as Ctrl Shift S, desktop, JPEG, and change it to 1K and save it. So this is the workflow of the texturing team by default. You're welcome to modify it as per your comfort. But this is the basic way of turning a texture into seamless. So you'll have to send the artist these 4 textures. Any doubts you have, you can always contact me anytime. Please excuse the voice a bit because I'm having a cold. So any doubts, you can always contact me. And sorry I couldn't connect with you on Google. My network is really bad, and I'll be changing into a good one soon enough. I hope this helps you. Bye.